I'll say it this way. There is almost, and you have to say almost, because the reason why you have to say almost in this situation is simply because of the Damar Hamlin situation and things that truly get into tragic, right, when lives are on the line. But outside of that, there's almost nothing more heartbreaking in sports than a freak injury to a good player and a good person who had a big-time opportunity coming their way. According to the NFL Network's Tom Pelissero's reporting, Bills running back, Garner native, former state football player, Nyheim Hines was reportedly seriously injured when he was sitting stationary on a jet ski and was struck by another rider. He will require surgery and will miss the entirety of the 2023 season, according to Pelissero. That is brutal. Brutal. Now, the injuries are not life-threatening, which, as I discussed, is kind of the most, not kind of, it is the most important part. But the heartbreaking nature of the injury comes from what it means for his career. And I don't, maybe it's I'm getting soft as I get older. Maybe it's because I'm getting further away from my playing career, right? I played up through college. When you're a player, it's this weird switch that flips in your brain where you can watch, your best friend suffer a career-ending or just a career-altering injury, and literally 4 minutes later, you're like, Coach, what's the next play? And you're able to lock in on the next one. And it's a weird superpower that athletes have. But I'm noticing the further I get away from my playing career, and I'm in my 30s now, so it's been a minute, the more these injuries stick with me. The more I hear this and my stomach churns and I go, I don't like the way this feels at all. I don't like the way this changes the Bills' season. I don't like the way this might change Nyheim Hines' career. Nyheim was, by the way, everyone I've talked to, and I know some guys that know him from his time in Raleigh with the Wolfpack, everybody I've talked to said he's a great, one of those few people that just everybody likes and is helpful and all those sorts of things, which just makes it worse. Right? Makes this whole story disappointing. And I hate that it happened on a jet ski, because then the casual people that just read headlines are just going to see that he was in a jet ski accident, and they're going to think that he was going 100 miles an hour on some souped-up jet ski, being irresponsible, when in actuality, he was sitting there stationary, and he got hit by another rider. Right, it's that whole thing where, you're getting ready to drive somewhere, and your mom is asking, it's going to be a long drive. You're going to go 8 hours, and you're not going to get in till 3 o'clock in the morning. And your mom says, "Are you being safe?" And you're like, "I'm a great driver. I'm wide awake. I got a great night's sleep last night." What do they say? "I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the other drivers on the road at that time of night."
Sure.
This is one of those situations where Nyheim Hines may have been the safest jet skier in the world that day. He may have been out there just using it as transportation, right? He was just trying to get across wherever, I don't know what body of water he was on, just using it to get across the bay, and he was going 10 miles an hour, just pure transportation. We don't know the exact details, but it may have been that, and he got hit by another rider.
Tim, this also hurts for me just because one of my favorite memories from an NC State football game, and I'd like to paint a picture here, if I may. October 31st, 2015, NC State's playing Clemson, who's third in the nation at the time. Early in the game, 4 minutes to the game, Clemson had just scored their first touchdown. NC State was trailing by 1 point. After Clemson had just scored, this is what you got if you were in Carter Finley Stadium. And a lot of NC State fans will remember this exactly.
Hines will bring it out. Got a couple of good blocks. Hines, it's a foot race, and they're not going to get him. 100 yards. Hello.
When we talked to the coaches, they talked about this young man's world-class speed, the true freshman. You can see the quality of speed going up at NC State, and the special teams are an actual weapon now for NC State.
I remember being there and watching Hines do that as a true freshman. That might have been his first time even actually touching the field for NC State. And then, of course, the rest is history. Goes on to be a leading carrier for the Wolfpack. It hurts me to see that moment of Hines' career to now this moment where he's not going to have a career this season.
And it's because of moments like that, and it's because of moments like the one that started the segment where he returned the opening kickoff and another return for a touchdown later in the game, in the first Bills game following the Damar Hamlin situation. There are certain athletes out there, and he seemed to be one of them, who, like, when it's inexplainable, right? When the moment calls for something, they just kind of always have it, right? Think of it like this. There's a great viral video. It goes viral probably every 6 months if you're in the golf Twitter space, of Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus is one of those guys, like, when the moment is there, he rises to it. And it's you can't explain it, right? There might be a shot that he only makes one time in his life. He is going to make it when the moment calls for it. And I think it was Johnny Miller, another golfer, kind of, up there in age. And Johnny Miller was agonizing over like 100-foot putt. This is there on the Champions Tour, maybe even been a celebrity exhibition or something. And he's agonizing over 100-foot putt. And eventually Jack Nicklaus starts giving him a hard time, right? Just putt it. You know what to do. Just putt it. And the whole crowd there is getting behind him. And Johnny Miller says, like, you think you could do this? You think you can make it? Jack Nicklaus walks over, because I'll show you how to do it. Walks over, drops the ball, smacks it, doesn't line anything up, cups it, puts it in the hole from 100 yards away. It's a wild moment. And you recognize, like, oh, Jack Nicklaus is just one of those guys who, like, when there's anything on the line, he's just gonna do it, right? That's how you end up as the golfer with the most majors in history. And Nyheim Hines was kind of one of those guys where it's like, when the moment becomes a moment, right? When all of a sudden kind of everybody gets the tinglies before a play and they're just like, what's going on here? Nyheim was going to be the one to make the play. He was going to be the one to return the kick 100 yards, like you said. He was going to be the guy that touched the ball first after the Damar Hamlin situation, and he was going to make the play. So when something as inexplainable as all of that happens on the opposite side, right? When something is inexplainable as that, like being on a jet ski stationary and now suddenly you have a season-ending injury that's going to require surgery, it feels weird because you're like, no. That's not what he does.
That's not how his career was supposed to go.
He does the other thing, right? He's the guy who he's out with his buddies being safe on a jet ski and another boat goes down and he's now helping people onto his jet ski to get them to safety, right? He's that guy. And it didn't happen, which is why it shakes you, which is why it's so startling. And then, because I'm a sports radio host, and that's what we're doing here on The Drive, because we have to talk sports, you have to look at it from the next step, which is Nyheim Hines was in the mix to be one of the running backs in the committee to really impact the game offensively for the Buffalo Bills. Right? There's Devin Singletary left, or they didn't bring him back. Right? Now they brought in Latavius Murray late. They brought in Damian Harris, but they also restructured the contract to keep Nyheim Hines. So now he has an opportunity to become a part of the offense in one of the best offenses in the league. And he was already locked in as their kick returner because he's one of the best in the league at it. So he was going to contribute on special teams. He was going to have the opportunity to help with the offense, one of the best offenses in the league. That's a big deal, right? So this year was going to be a big opportunity for him. And on top of that, he was going to make good money. Hines is 27 years old this upcoming season. This was going to be his age 27 year. That's one of the last years a running back can expect to cash in at all, right? Because once you hit 30, you're on 1 year minimums because of the way the league views the running back position. So 27, it's like, get your money while you can. He was on in his contract, he was going to make $4 million in cash. Up to this point in his career, he's made $13.5 million. Now, I know to the rest of us, like $13.5 million in a career, sign me up, right? Like most of us are going, that sounds awesome. In the NFL, that's an only $13.5 million, and he was about to add 30% to that. He was about to add $4 million cash to that. With the nature of the injury, and this is where you don't know the specific details of his individual language in the contract, but assuming he has some kind of traditional NFL write-up in his contract, with the nature of the injury being away from the facility, not being during a team practice, not involving any working out or officially sanctioned workouts, they can go after that money if they want to. They're not on the hook to pay him even the guaranteed portion. The team could get out from paying him, which is brutal. Brutal. So I'm sitting around, obviously we're hoping for the best, right? Obviously we're hoping for, just as a person, that because he is a good person, because he provided so many memories like the one Graham brought up during his time in Raleigh with the Wolfpack, you want him to be able to live the rest of his life and get back to full health. We don't know how serious the injury is, what the surgery is going to be. You want him to be able to, if he goes on to have kids or if he has them already, to play catch with them in the backyard when he gets older. So you want to focus on that, but you also want him to, get to play out the NFL career and get to do the things that he was hoping to and expected to do. And then lastly, you look at this from the Bills' perspective. The Bills' side of things is unfortunate because they need a running game. And Hines was going to be a part of that plan. How big? I think it was going to determine on how effective he was during the preseason camp and as well as the early parts of the season. But they need all hands on deck in that running game because it's kind of the last thing holding them back. Their defense is solid. Their quarterback is Josh Allen. Their passing game is bananas, but it gets cold in Buffalo. And it gets cold in a few other places that they may be playing in the playoffs in the AFC. And you need to have a running game when it gets cold and that wind gets whipping off the Great Lakes. And they just lost one of the cogs, one of the pieces, the gears in that running game. Does that go ahead and push them to bring in one of the veteran running backs that are still on the market? I mean, at least brings the conversation up again. Dalvin Cook and his brother James Cook, could they room together? James Cook's already on the Bills. Dalvin Cook's available. Zeke Elliott, obviously there. Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette. Maybe a guy like Amir Abdullah could fill the same kick returner / depth piece at running back. Maybe they do go make a move.
I'm interested to see if the Buffalo Bills, going back to Nyheim Hines and the tragedy of this injury, what they'll be doing either in the preseason or possibly opening day to tribute Hines and his time with the Bills.
I don't know if it'll be a tribute just because...
or some sort of recognition. Tribute might have been a bad word.
Yeah, I was going to say,
recognize
hopefully, and fingers crossed and everything, he's just an injured guy, right? You know what I mean? I say that hopefully whatever he broke, whatever he tore, whatever the injury is, it's clean and it's fixable and you get surgery, right? If it's a break, I don't want to pretend to be a doctor because I'm not. But you put the pins in, you put the plate in, you put the screws in, you get the cast on it, whatever you have to do, and 6 months later you're back to normal. You don't want I wouldn't want them running out with a Nyheim Hines jersey to lay down on the bench. To me, you do that kind of stuff when it's career ending or when it's worse, a loss of life of some kind. But hopefully by the beginning of the season, the rehab process has begun. And heck, maybe he's out there, those little scooters, the scooters. Maybe he's out there on a scooter, crutches. Again, we don't know much about the injury, but hopefully he's out there supporting his team. And then they'll have to decide, next offseason if he's a player that they want to bring back. And I assume it wouldn't be tremendously expensive.